Can we please welcome our panelists on stage?
Hey everyone, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. And thank you to Cesar. So I'm really excited about this fireside chat. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you not only to Celo CoOPERATE, but also officially to the Celo ecosystem. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Cesar leads the Web3 portfolio at Telefonica, and just really excited to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Xochitl.
All right. So I thought we could get started by talking about Telefonica's history. I'm not sure how many people in the room are familiar with Telefonica. Really amazing, I think, transformation over the past 100 years, which is super impressive. And wanted to talk a little bit about kind of your role and also a little bit more about Telefonica.
Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Cesar Hernandez. I'm based in Madrid. A little bit about myself. I've been in Telefonica for 10 years, which is a lot. I never thought I was going to stay there for such a long time. I started in the UK, working in more strategic and planning roles, but then I very quickly moved into venture capital and innovation ecosystem, which in Telefonica is quite a big one. And since then, I've been working on really disruptive projects that are very early stage for Telefonica. So we have, for example, been developing connectivity networks in a very disruptive way in Latin America so that we could actually reach all the unserved people that we still have there. And since approximately 2021, we created the Web3 and Metaverse division in Telefonica. And I've been running the Web3 portfolio. So in terms of Telefonica, how many of you know the company? Okay, that's quite good, considering we are in a Web3 environment. So Telefonica, it's a very old company. We are happy and glad to say that next year we will be turning 100 years old. There is not so many companies in the world, especially in the digital world and technology space, that has been around for such a long time. And I think we are really proud and have learned a lot in the past and have suffered so many transformations that we embraced a new one like what Web3 brings. So really, really encouraging to see our executive committee understanding Web3, more or less, and basically double betting the investment that we previously were having, but just on blockchain technology for our B2B customers. So in terms of facts and figures around Telefonica, just so you understand the scale that we can bring to the ecosystem, we are a global service provider. We operate in more than 15 countries, mostly spread around Europe and Latin America. We generate around $50 billion US dollars of revenues every year, which I think is quite good. We are around 100,000 employees, which I think is not that efficient these days, and we are trying to bring those figures a little bit down to be more consistent. Our business is basically spread around everything that has to do with selling technology to customers that don't understand technology. And I think, in Web3, that's probably going to be our role too. On the B2B side, we typically work with a full portfolio that starts with connectivity. And then alongside, we bring cloud services, we bring big data, we bring IoT, and we bring cybersecurity. And then on the B2C side, again, we started with connectivity, but today we have, almost 400 million customers worldwide. More than 2/3 of those are consumer, and from those, around 75% are mobile. So for us, mobile is king, and it's definitely one of the flying wheels that we continuously use to drive revenues. Our portfolio in B2C is really spread too, so we started with connectivity, mobile, fixed, fiber, cable, whatever, and then we started bundling as everyone else is doing in order to maintain our ARPUs we started bundling other really nice services like video or physical security at home or any other stuff. And of course, we are not able to do everything ourselves. And since the past probably 10 to 15 years, we have been relying a lot on partners in order to be able to rapidly accelerate our portfolio and have market dynamism when it comes to competition. So that's more or less Telefonica, and yeah, we are really happy, and hopefully we will be able to help on Web3, both on the technology advocacy side of things and on scale.
I want to kind of just zoom out a little bit, but just kind of let that soak in here for everybody in the room. So think about like 100 years. So probably starting with like the telegram, right?
Yeah.
Switching to telephone, and then everything that you just described with cloud, mobile, video, et cetera. And I think that if you think about like, or this role that telecommunication companies have as they think about Web3 and what this next transformation and evolution, can you share a little bit about kind of what you think that looks like, and then specifically just kind of zooming in on Telefonica and what you're excited about as you think about Web3?
Yeah. So I think in general, in Telefonica and in most of the telcos, we see this space as a very early stage space, but we also see it as a new opportunity for us to basically gain some of the losses that we had when Web 2 came around. So, I think if Web 3 really brings what it promises, it's kind of a new start for a lot of people. And there, I think we have a lot to win and a lot to put into the ecosystem to make it happen. In general, I think the strategy in Telefonica today is more about learning by being hands-on Web3 projects, and throughout that learning, help simplify or democratize even further so that we can actually offer it to our 100 million customers, hundreds of millions of customers which have no clue about crypto, wallet, or anything like that. And probably they don't even need to care about it. So our first mission is to basically democratize Web3 enabled services that can help us push old Web 2 services further. So, for example, I think someone before was talking about the market of bringing money from one country to another one. So if we take, for example, money that is sent from Europe or Spain all the way to Latin America, there are billions and trillions of cash flows going there, and the current state of the market is not really competitive. So, you have the likes of TransferWise, which is really cool, which can help you for doing this, but the rates and everything that is based is fully centralized, is full based on banking, and the current status quo basically make it impossible for new entrants to come in and create a more competitive service for the end users. So, by bringing DeFi, by bringing crypto into the equation, we believe that a service to very simply send money from Spain into Latin America and vice versa can be really improved, and that's one of the areas where we are exploring. How can we use Web3 technologies and Web3 ecosystems in order to enable more competitive service by Telefonica to our customers that before we couldn't do because it was not competitive. So that's one example. Then another area that we are that we are focused within the Web3 portfolio is decentralized infrastructure. Obviously, as a telecommunication company, we have tons of infrastructure, and we know how to deploy and operate centralized infrastructure very well. But now with Web3 business models, tokenomics, and the evolution of certain technologies, we can see how the infrastructure is going to be increasingly deployed in a more decentralized manner. And I think we have seen this recently with Web3 in some really good projects that are still there, like, for example, Helium and the likes. And decentralized CDNs and decentralized infrastructure in order for us to keep scaling without us being the only one investing is something really critical, and that's also one of the spaces that we are really working around. And then the third one is basically the most difficult one, which is what new services, pure Web3 services, we can bring to our customers, which are not those 5% that we presented before that are very technical and have used MetaMask and have lost money bridging blockchains and stuff like that. These are customers that have no clue. Some of them are not even digital in some places, and they still have some problems that need to be solved, like financial services access or even access to other more to other services. So for us, that's also a very important piece of the portfolio that we want to populate. Celo, I think, can bring a lot to that area. And just to give an example of something that we are working on, obviously you are all familiar with Web3. You have all been surfing the Web3, and probably you have all lost some money in the swaps or bridges or whatever. If you are doing DeFi, most definitely you have lost money on that. So for us, it's very important that Telefonica can help our customers surf the Web3 in a more secure, more private, and more simple way. And that's why we are pushing some of our security products and privacy products into this landscape, so that at the end of the day, the user can log in or sign a MetaMask contract or whatever, knowing what he's doing without actually knowing how to code or how to understand solidity or whatever. So those are kind of the three strategic pillars where we are working on. Obviously, as I was saying, very early stage, but those are the lines.
It's super cool, and I had no idea that one of the reasons that you were exploring Web3 was just a learning lesson from Web2, and specifically, I think the entrance into the early stages of the internet, which I think is so important for us because oftentimes we forget that working in Web3 and in crypto, we are still very in the early stages. So that's amazing just to have that foresight into this, which is, I think, one of the exciting pieces of news that we're sharing this week is that Telefonica is officially joining as a member of the Celo Alliance for Prosperity. So
yes. Where is
super
the champagne? Why don't we have champagne?
The
previous guy had champagne. I don't even know why.
We definitely are missing the
what
champagne.
What were they announcing? Okay.
All right. And the Alliance for Prosperity was started as how do we bring some of the greatest minds together? So leaders from, telecommunications, with leaders from nonprofits to leaders of Web3, really bringing some of the greatest minds to think about how we can use this technology, not only to kind of drive more innovation, but also, excuse me, now I need some champagne, address some of the world's biggest problems. So I wanted to ask you, what drew you to Celo?
Okay, so in general, I think the ecosystem is really dynamic. There is so many new projects, new ecosystems, new foundations, new blockchains coming up every day. But Celo has something very specific that we liked, that is also very close to Telefonica's core, which is mobile first, and the fact that we believe that the mobile phone number is a great KYC for everything that comes up. So we started getting interested in Celo because of these aspects, and the more we looked into it, the more we saw that there was actually development, that there was actually activity, that there were projects, and of course, as everything in the Web3 early stage, really difficult to think of scale because the basics to scale are not there. There is no standardization, there is no interoperability, and we are right now in a phase in which everyone is developing really cool stuff, and at some point, as has happened in our industry for many years, someone will need to create a standardization body or something similar so that we can all speak the same language. So with all this in mind, I think Celo there are others really good projects out there, but Celo is one of those, in our opinion, where we think we can, learn a lot from the, different kind of projects and problems that you guys are trying to solve with regards to, more accessibility to financial services in a mobile-first way. And then on the sustainability side, climate change and so on, I think that's another pillar where our sustainability team was super interested. There are some projects that we are already looking at that I think we can work together, and where I truly believe that blockchain can bring value to the current status quo. So in general, yeah, I think Celo is one of the ones where we believe we can learn the most, is one of the ones where we believe we can build things hands-on and hopefully have some impact. And yeah, we will see in a year's time where we are.
Super cool. So we're seeing the space evolve a lot just in the past year. We're seeing new uses for NFTs. We're seeing, identity. Masha was just presenting earlier. I'm curious, kind of like, what are some of the spaces that you're curious, kind of diving more into and learning more about? Yeah.
So, as part of our collaboration, I think the first step that we put was to become part of the blockchain. I think that's important because at the end of the day, that helps us understand better the demand that is going into Celo, but also through that demand, understanding some of the key projects that that people really want to use, and that's at the end of the day something that we really want to explore. So I think the first thing that we want to do is become a validator group, which we were close. Now we are. I don't know if we are closer with yesterday's announcement.
We're
Hopefully,
close. Shifting,
yes.
shifting to decentralized sequencers. Yeah.
Yeah, we will have to change some stuff, but hopefully nothing major, and that will bring us something to start educating also internally Telefonica about how we can monetize this in a very easy manner, starting from the more commoditized thing, which is the actual blockchain technology. On top of that, I think, as I was saying before, we have we want to create a hackathon together next year. As I was saying, next year we are turning 100 years old, so we are going to, bring a big party in our headquarters in Madrid. Of course, you are all invited, and within that event, we want to really go big on Web3, and we trust that Celo can help us achieve that through a hackathon that we want to build together. And throughout that project, we hope to also get some interesting solutions that are closer to Telefonica's needs or to Telefonica's opportunities to scale it. And that's also an area where we have some hopes. And the third one is pure, let's say, deal flow with regards to two specific areas. The first one is the more access to financial services. Telefonica, unlike other telcos, we didn't transform ourselves into banks. For example, Orange in France did. They are also a bank. They have license, so they can do some of the things that you in Celo want to do using blockchain. But in Telefonica, we don't have that. So, I think Celo can help us with tools and software that then we can help you guys scale globally in our countries in a regulated and legal manner, which I think is something that, again, we are highly regulated, that's bad, but on the other hand, it's good because at the end of the day, if you want to create something that is sustainable, it needs to be legal, right? So financial services, and then the last thing is probably working around cool projects like plastics, for example, or things like this, which I think can. In Telefonica, we have a lot of course, Kyoto KPIs, so we need to comply with those. And on top of that, we are heavily investing to even go further, because also you can access some markets to get some credits based on sustainability KPIs. And I think through Celo, we can probably accelerate some of those projects and bring into, not only into life, but making it more democratic so that more people can actually be part of those KPIs rather than only corporate base. So, selling some of the plastics collections to our customers could be a really cool project that we can do together, and I think it's something definitely doable and shouldn't be too difficult.
And for those of you that don't know, Cesar's talking about plastics, which is an NFT project that retires a kilo of plastic for every NFT that's purchased. And really really awesome partnership that they have right now with FC Barcelona, and so really excited to kind of explore that more with Telefonica. Just on that thread, so there are several entrepreneurs and developers that are in this audience. You know, what advice would you give to them as they think about partnering not only with Telefonica, but just larger organizations? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super tough. I've been an entrepreneur before, and probably I would never recommend you to go and talk with someone like Telefonica until you have a really mature technology, because unfortunately we are slow companies. Like, we have a very difficult execution, so a lot of people have to to give green light and so on. So this means time, and what entrepreneurs don't have is time. So what I would definitely recommend is, don't be shy to present projects, but don't get expectations that those projects are going to be moving fast until you don't have something that really clicks. And that can be like a previous business that you did with another telco somewhere, or something that really shows that you have proof of something that we can help you scale. If it's not ready to scale, it's not ready to be probably reviewed by someone like Telefonica, because they are going to kill it. Not me, but along the process.
But I guess like the focus is come from the lens also of helping Telefonica, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we also have like a more entrepreneur front end, which is all our investment portfolio. So inorganic investments, inorganic strategies, and those guys are more friendly, let's say, and can help more on the early stages. So seed, Series A, I think it's good if you go with them, and then they will be the ones working with us to find fit and then try to create a roadmap so that we can scale together. So we do have ways to interact with entrepreneurs, but even if we use those ways, if the technology and the startup is not really mature, it's going to be very difficult to make it happen, because the time and the restrictions that we put in our processes are 100 years old. So it's good. We have transformed ourselves across the years, of course, but we are not fully digital. We are not Google. We are not a Web3 company. So we still have processes, and that's the downside.
So early support could look like seeing a project that is mobile, exciting, and interesting, and it could mean maybe investing in that project, watching it, and then as it's ready to scale, potentially looking at how a deeper partnership could evolve, right? But the venture arm sounds like the easiest point of entry. Yep.
Yeah, so we have basically, you would have three ways. The first way is through the wider community, which is like the seed stage and pre-seed stage. So really like ideas on a serviette, those kind of things. Then the second phase would be the Telefonica Ventures arm, which they are very, very connected with the community. They work a lot with borderless capital and the likes of the venture capitalists that are within this space. And then us, through the collaboration that we are signing, we also have a commitment to share deal flow and to see startups that can have a nice fit. And that's also something that we would really like, and hopefully we can get something out of there, like we did with plastics. Yeah. So I think those are the three ways to interact in a more efficient way. Yeah.
So if you're working on a project and you think there's a lot of potential with a mobile piece, definitely, I think, reach out. Celo's Alliance for Prosperity. One of the things that we like to do is organize think tanks and to really kind of put a lot of early stage projects and give visibility to different members of the Alliance. So great way to get engaged. So you also have, the last question here, because I know we're getting the time warning, is a Metaverse Day coming up. Would love for you to kind of share more about that and how folks in the room can get involved. Yeah.
Well, we used to have a Metaverse Day plan, but now it's been cancelled. Yeah. I mean, this shows that we haven't really prepared the questions. So yeah, I mean, because we are having this massive event early
100
next year.
Yeah.
Basically, they decided to focus everything on that event, including Metaverse Day. But yes, just so you know, in Telefonica, and this is probably different in every company you ask, but the understanding that they have is Metaverse is one thing and the Web3 is a different one. This is probably to blame Mark Zuckerberg because he took the name for himself, and then all of us had to change our name to Web3. But yeah, basically, Metaverse in Telefonica is everything that has to do with the devices that you will need in order to access these places, with the connectivity that you will need in order to be able to have great experiences with really low latency and really low jitter. And then, of course, with regards to everything that has to do with content generation in a mixed XR, AR kind of fashion. So all of those things are within the Metaverse side of things in Telefonica, and everything else that has to do with the business models, tokenomics, blockchain, and these things are within Web3. That's how we split it.
So stay tuned really for the 100-year celebration.
That's going to be the good one. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Cesar, so much for joining on stage. And
My
thank you,
pleasure.
everybody in the room. Really appreciate it and really grateful for the partnership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.